Hello, everyone. Happy Monday Moves. Welcome, welcome. Whether this is your first Monday Moves or your whatever number Monday Moves, I'm so glad you're here. Monday Moves is, well, it's every Monday, hence the name. And it's a short topic that I share with this community so that I can help you to move forward in your life. That is my goal. I love to shake people up and help them to move forward, myself included. And so the way that I share is oftentimes from the dance teacher perspective. And I want to really dive into that over the next month and really talk about how you are the choreographer of your life. So again, dance terminology here, but all that to say that it's the same thing, right? Whether we're dancing or whether we're dancing through life, dancing in a class or dancing through life, we are the choreographer of our life. We get to choose what we would like and we get to create and co-create, if you will, with higher powers to be that really just bring us alive and aligned. And that's one of my coaching circles, excuse me, that I have, one of my coaching programs that I have is called Alive and Aligned. And so today I want to ask you to really think of this as the choreographer of your life and really ask yourself, what are you rehearsing? So this is my question and our topic for today's Monday Moves. What are you rehearsing? Because every day in the midst of everything we're doing, we're doing a lot of things and we're being a lot of things or a lot of versions of us for different people, especially if you have children or if you have a very busy job, you have people that work underneath you. If you're a caregiver of any way, maybe you're taking care of an older person in your family or whatever it may be, we wear many hats, right? But even in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of all of it, you are still choreographing. And I find that to be so empowering and so beautiful. And so, as a dance teacher and as a dancer, if you're watching this and you're a dance teacher and you've ever choreographed a dance, I want you to remember that 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 whole process of choreographing something takes a lot of parts. It takes imagination. It takes uh, creative trial and error. It takes even putting it on the dancers. It's like you're giving them the choreography and then you see it happening. So you take action and then you see it happening and then you're like, oh, that doesn't work. Or it doesn't look like I thought it would. And then you make changes. So everything that I do, whether we are in dance class together, whether that be tap and tone or abundance, or any of my courses or even individual classes, whether we're dancing together or we're doing life together, it's all the same process, and I call it my dance framework. So I want you to remember that every part of your life that you're choreographing, every reaction, every breath, every choice, that it's all part of the dance that you are living right now. Okay. So remember that every breath, every choice, every reaction, it's all part of your dance, of your story, of your journey. And so if you're the choreographer and you're unhappy with the way that it's going, who gets to change it? We do, right? Like it's all on us. And I find that to be really empowering. There's no victim mentality, not in my world. I don't tolerate that for myself. And if I do catch myself, I'm like, oh no, man, like accountability, take action, take ownership. Because when I own it, when I own every result, good or bad, then I know that I am in charge and able to create something different, able to choreograph something different. So let's take this into what the question was what are you rehearsing, right? So let's take it back into that. So if you're a dancer, you know that we repeat things until it becomes second nature. Let's I'm going to take a ballet example only because I was just recently texting, which is why my phone just made a noise, texting with a ballet teacher for my daughter. And so I'll take a ballet example, but you can make this a tap example if you will. And when I remember doing tondus at the bar growing up, I mean, we didn't just practice tondus once or twice, right? That was every single day of my life in a ballet class. We did tondus. Doesn't matter if it was a beginner class or an advanced class, you're doing tondus. So you're not practicing it just until you get okay at it. You're practicing it until it becomes second nature. And so you lead with the heel and the foot glides off the ground and the heel presses forward and you get all the way up off the tippy toes. And then you're bringing it back in and you're pressing through the floor and you're leading from the pinky toe coming back and you're pulling up at your hips. I mean, there's so many things, but we practice it until it becomes second nature. Same thing for tap, right? Shuffles and flaps. We don't just do shuffles in beginner classes. We do shuffles in every single class. because we must repeat it until it becomes second nature. So we don't have to think about the shuffle anymore. And now we can start thinking about the bigger nuances of dynamics and musicality and staging and all these things while we're choreographing. So I want to ask you, if you're constantly rehearsing doubt or burnout or saying yes when you really mean to say no, that becomes your default stage presence. And I'm using a lot of dance terminology here because I think it will really land. I'm hoping it will really land with our audience. So I'm going to say that again. If you're constantly rehearsing doubt, burnout, or people pleasing, right? Saying yes when you really want to say no, then that is becoming your default stage presence. That is becoming your default performance, right? But the same goes for rehearsing joy and boundaries and confidence and rest and fun, which is what I love talking about. So we want to make sure that we're constantly going back to the things that light us up, the things that bring us the most alive. Okay. And so my question for you is, what would it look like to shift your inner choreography? Meaning your thoughts, your habitual patterns, the way you respond. You say no instead of yes. What would it look like if you shifted that inner choreography, your thoughts in your mind that are truly choreographing your day and the habits that you have every day? And when you come home from work, what do you do? When you wake up first thing in the morning, what is your choreography? What do you do every morning? What if you just tweaked it just a tiny bit? How would that shift your next day or your next year? That's crazy for some people to think a year in advance. But what would happen? And so I want to tell you guys a personal story. There was a point in my life about 5 years ago when I finally heard it. I had been saying it for years. I had been saying it for a long time, but I heard myself say it. And I was like, whoa, everything just kind of, it was like all of a sudden my awareness of who I was being at that phase of my motherhood and of my journey and life and all of that. All of a sudden it was like I was taken out of it and I was like watching myself speak and I heard myself for the first time. And what I heard myself saying was, in a nutshell, was saying that my dreams needed to be put on hold so that I could be present for being a mom. And while that was noble and I felt like it was coming from the right place, I wanted to do the best for my kids. I wanted to be present. I wanted to homeschool. I wanted to not sacrifice that. That's a core value. I didn't want to sacrifice it. What I didn't realize I was doing, what I had been rehearsing so much, was trying to convince myself that my dreams didn't matter, that I only could do one or the other. I didn't realize I was even doing that, you guys. I had no intention to do that to myself. I had no realization I was even doing it. But what I had been doing for years leading up to this point, about 5 years ago, I realized this, but I had been doing this for, weeks, months, years, saying, I can always teach dance at a larger scale. Now I've always taught, okay, I've never stopped teaching, but I had limited myself to more private lessons, to subbing. I turned down a lot of opportunities because people were asking me to buy their studios. I kept turning them down because I was like, no, not now. I can't give up this. I was so clear on what I wanted, but not all that I wanted, only some of what I wanted. I was super clear on some of it. And the other things I kept telling myself, well, those can all wait. I can always do that again. And that's true. There's nothing wrong with this story. I can always own a dance studio again when my kids are grown and moved out of the house. Anybody can do that whenever they want. But I had limited myself because I thought there was reason. I thought it was a good reason. I thought that I couldn't do it all. And so I'm sharing this story with you because I had been rehearsing that same response. I had been truly practicing and rehearsing that same response time and time and time and time again. I had 3 different dance studios offered to me. I mean, I went on meetings with these owners. I looked at their books. I had substantial conversations, but I had been practicing. Not now is not a good time. I don't want to sacrifice my homeschooling and my children, the time with my kids, to build this entrepreneurial passion that I have. Like, I love being an entrepreneur. I love building and creating the things. It brings me alive. It really lights me up. I love it. It energizes me. It does not drain me because I'm in the things that I love and following my joy, which is also what I teach. But I had practiced that response so much so that at night, sometimes when I would be journaling or when I would be writing, or I would hear a song while I was doing the dishes or playing with the kids, or I would read a book to my children and it would talk about these people who took daring adventures and followed their heart and said, got no's 100 times and finally got a yes. Or Thomas Edison with a light bulb, tried it 14,000 times and finally got a success. People that didn't give up, people that didn't give up on their dream. I would read these things and I would see these things, or I would be reminded, and then I would have to talk myself back into what I had been rehearsing. Like, I can do my stuff later. This is really, really important. I had even went out as far as reaching out to other homeschool moms who are very seasoned, have been in the world for 30 years, have kids that are in college, pursuing their dreams. And I was like, please keep me focused that homeschooling is exactly like what I want, and that it's enough, and that it is a dream. And I was reading these books to convince myself to practice that this is the only thing I was going to focus on. And finally, I was like, you know what? I am really trying to choreograph this dance over here where this is all I do, but yet I keep hearing this other thing. It's like I keep having this idea that we should do floor work on this part of the music, and I keep ignoring it because no, we shouldn't do floor work. We should stay up. Like, it was so exhausting. And I share this personal story so you guys can see and hear maybe how your story is mirrored in this. But the thing is, you guys, when we're practicing something like my story, where I was like, no, I can always do that when I'm older, and when my kids are older and there's more time and I don't want to sacrifice this. What we are practicing, right? We're practicing it over and over and over again so that it becomes who we are. That's the point in practicing it. Because so it becomes second nature. So we get so good at it that it becomes natural. But at some point, I practiced this story so much that I actually was removed from self for a moment and realized that's not actually what I want. That's actually not natural for me. And it never will be, because I truly believe we can have the full life that we love. We can have this and this. And whatever those are for you, what is your this and this, or this and that? What are your two things that you could put there? Because it's meant for you. And so I realized I'm never going to be able to become this fully happy person just doing one thing, because it's not all of me. So I want to ask you again, what are you rehearsing? Okay, what is it? What is the story? What is the thing? What are the habits? What is the routine that you are rehearsing? How do you wake up every single day? And what is the rhythm? What is the routine? And then I want to ask you to journal about that, and really take some time this week to journal about this. And I really want you to stay curious here. Stay curious, because that's what I did in that moment. I realized, like, wow, I just heard you answer that question or answered that response, or I don't even know if somebody asked me that day. They might not have even asked me that day. It might have just been me free talking without somebody even asking me. And that might be what pulled me out of the routine of it, was that it was in a different approach. I don't remember, but it was something so simple where I just gave the same story, the same answer. I homeschool my children and I teach dance on the side because I don't want to teach full time in a studio, because I'm not willing to compromise my ability to be home with my kids. And I want to be the one that's at every practice. But it's really important to me. It's a core value to be present. And no one and nothing is ever going to change that. No one is going to say, Ashley, you can't take your kids to their activities. It's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. But I don't have to sacrifice my dream and living what lights me up for that. What I had to do was I had to get curious. And I had to stop judging the fact that, hey, you know what? I really do want to do more for me. I had to stop judging myself for that, because I had started to believe so much. I had practiced so much that being a really good mom, and at this season of life, I'm all in over here, 100%. I had practiced that so hard that I felt so much mom guilt. I felt so much mom guilt when I started to lean into this other idea, this other bit of choreography. So much mom guilt. I'll say that again. Because I had practiced this so much, just being present, just being there, being the one that was, sparked every conversation and every game and every this. But then there'd be nights where I'd go to bed and I was like, man, you're almost a helicopter mom. You're always around. And I didn't want that either. I don't want to be always around. I want them to have their own time and their own imaginations and their own ideas. And I don't want them to keep leaning on me for an answer or thinking that I'm going to be their crutch, because I'm not. I wanted to raise super strong, independent kids. And I realized maybe this wasn't exactly fitting in that mold. So I want you to journal, okay? Reflect this week. What are you rehearsing? And then journal about that. Stay really, really curious without judgment for yourself. Because you might be rehearsing something that really does feel like it's in the best place, right? You're coming at it, you know what you're doing, you're very intentional. But still, if you stay curious, I bet you'll find something more. And remember, after you're doing this journaling, that you have the power to re-choreograph at any time, right? You have the power to re-choreograph at any time, which is really, really cool. And the choreography process is fun. It's really fun. So keep that in mind, stay curious, ask yourself, what are you rehearsing? And then I want to share one last thing before I hop off. And that is that starting today through June 3rd, I am actually leading up to our next free event. We have done 2 free events this year already, which has been amazing. One was in February and one was in April. So last month, called Love Yourself. And those were 3-day events and they were beautiful. And we've had over 90 people registered between the 2 different launches of those. But the one that we will do on June 3rd that I'm preparing for now is going to be a 1-day event, not a 3-day event. It'll be a 1-day event. And I'm going to give you guys all the details and all that as we get a little bit closer. But I want you to remember that we are going to be talking about every week up until that event and even during that event, you being the choreographer of your life. That is the overarching theme. So I hope that all of these Monday moves will spark some ideas, spark some deeper intuitive thinking and listening to yourself, because you know the answers, by the way. Okay, but I wanted you to know that there is a process that I'm kind of leading you guys on starting today, and then we'll keep going through it. And then on June 3rd, I invite, and I hope everyone will join us for a free 3-hour event. It'll probably be 3 hours. And there'll be all sorts of fun stuff that we will do. So again, you guys, remember, you're the choreographer of your life. And I want you to really think this week, what are you rehearsing? What are your daily habits? What are your routines? What rhythm are you in? And then just get clear on that. Like, just maybe look at your day today. What have you already done today? Go through tonight. Maybe journal. What are you doing tomorrow? The next day. How are you responding to people? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you saying no to? What are you saying yes to? And just get curious and really notice where you are. I want you guys to please comment and share as much as you want, because this is part of the process, is speaking it out loud. And when you put words on a piece of paper, whether you're writing or you type words out in the chat and in the comments, what happens is you solidify your thoughts and you bring more energy into it. And that is powerful, right? Get it out of your head and get it out. Whether you speak it or you write it or type it, it's very, very powerful. Okay. Have a beautiful rest of your Monday, everybody. And I will be right back in the comments in a moment. And thank you again. And I will see you guys next Monday. Bye, everybody.